You got a D-Stacks beat?
Yeah, I got a D-Stacks beat. Listen to the beat, y'all. Come on, D-Stacks, bring it in. Hey, 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 hey. Woo! Queens on the roll. Ooh, queens on the roll. Powerful queens on the roll. Beautiful queens, queens, queens on the roll. We're moving, we're grooving, we're jamming, we're slamming. Queens on a roll. We're moving, we're grooving, we're jamming, we're slamming. Queens, queens, queens on a roll. She's educated and inspiring everyone that has challenges. Queens, queens, queens on a roll. She's educated and inspiring everyone and having fun. She's queens on a roll. Woo, queens on a roll. Ooh, queen on a roll. Powerful queens on a roll. Beautiful queens on a roll. Come roll with us. Ooh, come roll with us. Come roll with us. Ooh, come roll with us. Woo, queen on a roll. Woo, queen on a roll. Ooh, queen.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Queens on the Road podcast. This is Latavia here, and I have my lovely auntie Katrina here with me today.
Hello, Latavia. Hello, everybody. So happy to be here with you.
Great, I'm so happy you're here, auntie. So today I brought you on because I'm doing another installment of Defying the Odds, and I wanted you to talk about how you defied the odds and beat cancer, but also I thought it was perfect because it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So are you ready to roll?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, let's roll.
You got a D-Stacks beat? D-Stacks beat? D-Stacks beat? D-Stacks
how did you first find out about your cancer diagnosis?
Well, Latavia, one day I was getting ready for work, and as I was dressing and putting on my brassiere, I realized there was a knot on the side. Wow. And I ran immediately trying to find out what the knot was.
Wow, so you kind of self-diagnosed yourself a little bit. I know Mom always told me you do those self-breast exams, so is that what you did?
Well, actually, I usually do the self-breast exam in the shower, but this particular day I was getting ready for work and I felt it when I went to put on my brassiere, and then I went back and I lied down and I put my fingers around, just testing around, and I felt it again, and I realized at that time that that was something foreign. I had not felt that before.
So did you make an appointment immediately? And who did you make an appointment with?
So initially I called my primary care physician, and when I spoke to my primary care physician, she told me that she didn't have an appointment available, and I told her that it was important important, very important to me to get an appointment as soon as possible.
Okay. And what did she say?
So she was able to get me an appointment, check it herself. And I even, fussed a little about that because I felt like ultimately she wasn't the individual that had to see it or handle it. So I immediately wanted to go somewhere where a doctor could tell me, or an oncologist or someone can tell me what exactly was going on. But she saw me, she felt the lump, and then allowed me to be referred to an oncologist.
And when you got referred to the oncologist, what did they say?
After I was referred to the oncologist, they wanted to have, I believe that was a scan, the mammogram, the 3D mammogram. There were a series of tests that they wanted to perform.
And what did that waiting for the test results feel like?
Oh, Latavia, I didn't wait. I was pushing through every obstacle. When they said there was no appointment, I went to the office and I stood by waiting for cancellations. I was very, very eager to know and to find out. And I remember saying, timing is everything. Timing is everything.
Right. So you were definitely proactive, which is a good thing. I'm so glad about that. So when the test results finally did come back in that short amount of time frame, what did they say, or what were the results?
So I remember that the radiologist looked at it and he said, yes, there are 2 lumps there. Although I could only feel 1. There were 2 lumps. And he advised that he had to do a biopsy. And that got me scared again.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What did the biopsy entail?
Oh my Lord. I don't even want to scare people, but it was a long needle. They had to insert into my breast. And that needle had a little thing on the end of it that actually clipped a piece of tumor. Because ultimately we found out that it was a tumor and it was positive for cancer.
So when they came back and they told you that it was cancer, what was going through your mind? How did you feel? Was it hard to process? What was going on there?
Well, I will say that I was very concerned, initially afraid, but I believed that, I had faith to believe that whatever is going on, whatever it is, I was going to come out fine. And I would stress the importance of keeping a positive attitude all the way through, no matter what stage they say, no matter what they diagnose or how grim it may appear to be. I stayed in faith and just kept believing I was going to come out of it.
Right. So what was the ultimate diagnosis?
The ultimate diagnosis that I was triple negative breast cancer.
Wow. And is that one of the rare forms of breast cancer, or is it aggressive?
I know it was one of the worst. I don't know if they would say it's a real form because, some people have positive and negatives, but definitely an aggressive form of breast cancer. Yes.
And was it aggressive for you?
I believe that from the first day I felt 1 lump, and when they actually did the exam, they found 2. I would say it was aggressive.
Did it go anywhere else in the body, or did it stay in the breast?
Eventually, after all of the testing was done, they did find that it was in 2 of my lymph nodes.
Wow. What stage was it in?
I was stage 3, but the stage to me, I wasn't so much really concerned about the stage. I really was concerned about the fact that I was diagnosed with cancer. Even if they said 1, 2, 3, or 4, I probably would have felt the same way. I was devastated, and I was just trying to figure out, how did this happen to me?
Right. What was going through your mind? Was it like, oh my God, I got cancer and this is going to be scary. I don't want to do chemo. What was going through your mind? How did you feel? What were you thinking to yourself?
I was thinking that I needed treatment and I needed it immediately.
Yeah, great. You were focused on getting better, which I think that's the point of it, right? Focus on having a great outcome instead of focusing on the grim things that they may say. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, doctors have to give you the reality of what it may look like and then all your treatment options. Did they say what your treatment options were when you went for that first appointment, or did you have to do a follow-up appointment to find out?
I went for the first appointment and they had all of the results. So being that they had all of the results as well as the test results from the biopsy, they were able to tell me what my treatment was going to look like and that it should start as soon as possible.
D-Stacks beat.
What was the treatment protocol?
The treatment protocol for me was a medication very strong called carboplatin and a medication called Plaxil. I will never forget those two names as long as I live. So I had to take a series of one first and then a series of the other. Carboplatin was very difficult. It was the strongest of the two for me, and carboplatin was the one that made me more sick, and the Plaxil was more easier to deal with as a medication. It was less side effects from the Plaxil for me.
What side effects did you experience? I know everybody's an individual, so tell me what you experienced.
Yes, so I would say Plaxil made me fatigued more, and the carboplatin is the one that I would feel like did the most physical damage to me. Carboplatin was the one that caused me to feel like I couldn't eat. I was nauseous many times, and I believe that's how I lost so much weight. I really could not eat because of my stomach constantly being upset. I had severe constipation. I remember that, not being able to go to the bathroom and at times becoming very nauseous, but never throwing up. And that was strange to me. I was constantly nauseous from the medication, but never actually threw up. But times that I was able to eat, it was, mostly soup or vegetables, very light things. I wasn't able to eat heavy meals at all. And I believe, again, that's what caused me to lose so much weight. And I couldn't walk very well. I was weak. I was always sleeping. But carboplatin, I think that one took the most toll on my body.
Right. Wow. Did you end up losing your hair?
Oh my goodness. That was one of the worst for me.
Story time.
I started my dreadlocks in 2007, I believe, and I cut all of my hair down very low to start them, so I always call them my babies. I believe that one of the things that I even asked in advance about losing my hair, because they said there was some type of heating cap that would help your hair stay on, that you can have ordered and pay additional monies for, but it was no guarantee. So with that being said, I decided to just go through the process and see whether or not my hair would come out. I did pretty good for the first couple of months. But when that carboplatin started, oh my goodness, that carboplatin is the one that started causing my hair to come out. Just got weak. And I remember going shopping, and when I turned off the car, the first lock fell out. I was so devastated. And that's probably the first time that I actually cried. Now that I think about it, that I actually cried even after getting the diagnosis when I saw my hair begin to fall out.
Why was that so hard for you?
Well, first of all, nobody wants to be bald. That's first of all. And it was so hard for me because I had grown them. So now having them longer halfway down my back, that's one thing I didn't want to see, them falling out one by one by one. After I lost two, that's when I decided that I would just cut off the rest myself.
And did it feel liberating to cut off your hair? Or were you like, no way, this can't be happening to me?
I wouldn't say it was liberating. I was still devastated to have to cut my hair. But again, I did pray and ask for faith that I would be able to go through the process, and I cut them out one by one. But I preferred to cut it myself because I didn't want to see it continue dropping off. Like every day a piece of hair coming out or a dreadlock being found under my pillow or in my bed. Just those things I just didn't want to face. That hurt me more finding them and seeing them falling out than just taking, the scissors and cutting them off one by one myself. And I still have them till this day.
Wow. Is there any part of the process that was really, really difficult for you?
Taking the chemo. I would just say overall that chemo was very difficult. It was difficult for me to get the port, for them to put the port in under the skin over my right breast where they had to install it and put the pieces together so that they can use that area to put the medication. So they took blood from there, they put the medication in that port, and it was difficult just having that under my skin all the time. It was also difficult just having chemo administered as often as I did, just having it running through me. It was not the best feeling, but I knew that it was going to help me. So I wanted it, and then again, I didn't want it. So I don't know if you can understand that. Sometimes desperately you need to have something, but you really don't want it. And that's how I felt, because I knew it was going to, just make me sick, make me weak, and caused me to lose my hair. So those things that I mentioned before are the things that did happen.
How many times a week did you have to do chemo?
I don't remember. I think I had chemo once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, once every week for several months. And then after that, I had radiation. I had a radiation that was part of my protocol. So after the carboplatin and the Plaxil, I had to have targeted radiation that targeted the area where the breast cancer was so that I would be able to have that additional help to kill off any additional cells that might have been left behind after the chemo. So that was important. And that was a better process, if you will. Nobody wants to have radiation. It left me a little burnt after it all, but then they gave you a cream and eventually your skin comes back to its regular color and texture. So the radiation was the better of them all, and it was less time. And I would say the radiation was not so bad compared to all the rest.
And what was it like sitting there getting the chemo? Did you feel like you had support even in the facility you were in?
Yes, I think support is very important. The facility that I was in, you were allowed to, at that time, bring in other people with you, to sit with you, to talk with you, to encourage you. They also had other people that came in, like dietitians, a priest, different people coming around with snacks and things of that nature. You had a TV, you had a private room. So the treatment overall was good. It was in a good place, and you were allowed to have family and friends with you, one or two. And the people that they had coming around you for prayer, if you desired to have prayer, or even the social worker or anyone that could help you, they provided it. So I would say the services that I was provided were good services, and I am grateful for them.
Well, that is great. That is definitely great. And it was great for you to feel like you had a great support system, because I think that's number one, to feel like you have a village to hold you up when you feel weak and to keep you going, So, did you do anything else besides chemo? Did you try a different diet? Did you do a lifestyle change? What did you do?
Well, I want to say that we have a sister in the family, we call her Dr. Mary, and Mary had read these books about cancer and different individuals going through the process of chemo. And she shared with me, as well as a dietitian, that it was important to change the eating habits and to start juicing. And I think that was great information, very helpful information. And I think it's important that we understand that our eating habits must change. Dr. Mary, that's what we call her, Dr. Mary. She had the juices and the organic vegetables that we had to take, the organic fruit that was important that we take, just letting us to know that it was important to change the diet by the books and the information that she had read and found out. So she was very helpful and instrumental in getting me started in that direction.
Yep. And she talked a little bit about the protocol she used, which was the Gerson therapy. But did you find it hard to kind of change your eating style, kind of change what you drink? Because I know everything has to be organic. Did you find that part of it hard?
No, I did not find it hard. I didn't like all of the juices because Mary could make a mean juice. But I didn't like all of the juices, but I knew that it was necessary and an important part of my healing. You know, the dietitian tells us that, you know, cancer loves sugar. So it's important that we omit sugar from our diet. And those juices, when you have those organic vegetables and you have that chard and you juice it and you have carrots and you juice it in the Granny Smith green apples. I don't think I ever even ate a Granny Smith green apple in my life, but today I love them. So I think it's important that we be willing to make the change and realize that this is a part of our life for the rest of our life. And I also think it's important that we drink those juices, we eat differently. Now I'm out of treatment, I think 2 years, and I'm not going to say once in a while I don't have something I desire to have, but I am still very much serious about juicing and doing my very best to eat right. Once in a blue moon, I might go to City Island or somewhere to have some seafood, but I don't eat fried food till this day. I still don't have sugar in my diet till this day. I don't eat cakes and cookies and things of that nature. I still try to follow the dietitian's advice as well as do the juicing and things that Mary found out about and teaches everybody else to try to help them live a better life. It's important that we eat and drink to live.
Right. I think that is definitely well said. You did say you no longer have treatment, so does that mean you're in remission?
They call it remission. They called it ringing the bell. They called it that we're out of the woods, but not out of the woods. So again, in regards to remission, I am grateful and thankful so much that my faith brought me through, and I am grateful for that. I am grateful for my support system, my family members and loved ones. I am so grateful for all of them. And I am also grateful for just having the knowledge to know that it's a continual battle. It's a continual battle because the doctors say that anytime it can come back, anytime we can hear cancer is somewhere else. So there's no guarantee with cancer. But for me, there is a guarantee that I can make the difference. And I believe I make the difference, and I have an obligation to myself to eat right, to do right, and not reintroduce those things that I once loved so much as sweet teas or sodas or ice cream and cheese and things that are really ultimately not good for us, because we understand today that most diseases start in our gut. So if we can change our intake of food and be mindful that they can ultimately hurt us in the long run, then we would realize that there are supplements out there that are important to take. There's vitamins that are important to take. There's juicing that we must make a part of our daily diet. And if we do these things, I believe, the doctor didn't say, but I believe that we have a better chance at survival and a better chance at ringing that bell for the rest of our life and not just a temporary thing like remission. Remission can be temporary, but if we can do the right thing and get the strength and the faith to do what is right, even when it's difficult for us, then I believe that we can make it. We can all make it if we try.
And I think that is very well said. And I think that's sometimes the hard part for people is that, you know, I have to do all these different things. Change what I eat. I have to change what I drink. I have to change where I go. I have to change what I buy, right? So they're so focused on the change. And sometimes people may feel like, oh, I'm changing all of these things in my life, all of these factors. Sometimes getting rid of things that I absolutely love to eat, right? So that I can live. But there's no guarantee that I'm going to make it out, right? And it can always come back. So for some people, it's like, well, I might as well live. You know, live my days out if that's all I have, or live my months out, because all this changing I have to do, it may be for nothing. I know that wasn't your mindset, but can you understand why some people may feel that way, and what would you tell them?
I can absolutely understand today, Latavia, why some people might feel that way, because we have seen it, right? We have seen some people change. significantly, and still they die. And that's the ultimate thing that we don't want to do. Nobody wants to die from cancer or any other disease, or we don't even want to die when it's time to die, because we understand that we will not stay here. Ultimately, we will all one day leave this earth. However, going through the struggle of disease, we don't want to do that. But if we're facing that, an average individual will say, well, let me eat what I want. Let me do what I want. Let me get all these things off my bucket list, because ultimately I'm dying from this thing. And that's where we lose even faster and go down even faster, because we already set our mind to death. I think it's important that we set our minds and our hearts toward life and living. And when we do that, then we have that zeal and desire to fight to live, change to live. So ultimately, even if it defeats me, I have done my very best for me. And I know that in doing that, I cause myself to live a little longer. No matter what, no matter the ultimate end result, I changed the narrative that I will live longer, I will get better, and I will be here to see my great grandchildren. You put these positive goals in your mind and you go forward and you do what you need to do to survive, because ultimately we want to live. We all want to live. So give it your best shot. Go it your best way. Live life to the fullest. And what does that mean for me? Eating my best, doing my best, and not worrying about whether or not it's going to come back, not worrying about when it's going to happen. Just live. And if I could live and eat and drink my best for my gut, I'm going to do it.
Again, very well said. Very well said. I think I would second that, and I would add, I think you were able to keep that positive outlook too, because you are so strong in your faith and you do believe in the Lord and you believe in God. I think that helped too with keeping that positive outlook, right? Because God always says, I come to give life and give it more abundant, right? So rather than looking at the whole picture, which trust me, the whole picture is gonna look grim. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a disease at the end of the day. Doctors have to give you the best outcome, worst outcome. They have to give you the whole gamut. So taking it one day at a time, focusing on the positive things that you want to do when you get over cancer, all of that helps. Focusing on a higher power, whether that be God, whether that be Allah, whoever you believe in, just focus on the positive.
Yes.
And don't focus on the negative. But that being said, you will get overwhelmed sometimes. Was there any point in the journey for you, Auntie, where you were overwhelmed?
I believe I definitely was overwhelmed during the chemo process. That was very difficult. It was a lot to just take in and try to understand, because for the life of me, I just saw it as, healing on one side and hurting me on another, right? Because it even kills good cells. So it was very overwhelming. So I think, like you said, it's important to stay positive, important to have faith, important to trust and know that on the inside of you, you have the power to fight. You have the power to stand. Even when I couldn't stand, even when I couldn't walk, I was determined to walk. I was determined to get that cane. I was determined to try to do some things on my own. Even when people tried to help me, sometimes I was frustrated, even with the help. And I didn't always have the best attitude. I had to go back and say, I'm sorry for what I did or what I said. I didn't always have the best attitude because of frustration and being overwhelmed. So I would say, even if you find your family members there, try to understand them. They're just in a bad place at the moment, but eventually they will understand that it was just, taking a toll on them. But keep the faith. Don't give up. Fight your way through. You can always reach out to Latavia. She's always here giving information and to assist us. And Latavia could always reach out to me. I'll be more than willing to assist and help her, to encourage somebody to hold on. Don't give up. Fight and stand strong.
That is definitely well said. And that's one of the reasons why I do this podcast, because there's so many people out here with unique stories and unique journeys, right? And you have to at some point say, Dag, it was their hope. It was their perseverance. All the people that I have had on my show at one point or the other was like, I'm going to beat the odds and I'm going to do this differently. And I'm going to be maybe the anomaly, right? But as we continue to do this show more and more, what I love about it is people out there get to see you are not the anomaly. There's other people out here who are going through the same struggles as you. They are just sharing their story, hoping to uplift you, hoping to give you that courage to keep going. So I hope this show does that for you. And Auntie, what are you doing now since you're in remission? What's going on?
So I'm going to be having, for the first time, what we call a flagging event. And there at that flagging event, we will be just having cancer survivors come together, or those that are sick coming together. We'll be handing out sandwiches and we'll be flagging, just dancing around with flags and giving praise and giving thanks and trying to encourage somebody else, somewhere else, to let them know that they can make it too. Even in the struggle, you can get strength by telling somebody else your story. You can get strength by sharing and letting them see you running today where you couldn't run yesterday, and having the strength in your legs where we had no strength on yesterday. And we'll be flagging. We'll be sharing the message. This month, October, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. While there are many cancers, many diseases, many sicknesses, ultimately, we can encourage each other to know that you can make it through. So that's my goal. That's my purpose now in life, to hold my brother's hand, my sister's hand, and share the information. Let them know that they too can make it. My brother has been diagnosed with cancer. My best friend has been diagnosed with cancer. My other sister has been diagnosed with cancer. There's people around me in my church and other places that have been diagnosed. I am trying to encourage them, to share information with them, to be a second Miss Mary that could tell them about juicing, and letting them know that you can make it, you could hold on, you can fight through. And that's my goal. That's my purpose. I never rang a bell, and I will never ring the bell. I have victory. I know that within myself. I didn't ring the bell because there's others still suffering. There's others still going through. There's others who need to know that that bell ultimately is still there. The bell will always be waiting to be rang. But our brothers and sisters that might ring it today, and then there's others that cannot ring it. So we hold on for them. We fight through for them. We encourage them, and we just believe all the way through and strengthen one another. And that's my purpose in life going forward.
And I think that is super great. You know, rolling it back a bit, I want to say thank you so much for coming on, but also truly, I am thankful because what people don't know, and we're going to let you in on a little secret, y'all, is I asked my aunt to do this episode with me like a couple months ago. She was like, you know what? No, I'm sick of talking about cancer. I'm not going to do this episode. So is there any other way I could support you? Because I'm not going to do this episode. So I was like, okay, Auntie, I understand why you don't want to do it. But can you enlighten us a bit? How come you didn't want to do the episode at that time?
Well, the process was difficult. And while I still have encouraged others, I don't really like to talk about it. I don't like to talk about cancer. I don't like to remember what I went through. I don't like to. And I still feel like that. I don't like to remember what I went through because the struggle is real. However, the struggle for the next person, my next brother, my next sister, that's real too. And I just believe that I should share my story. I think God would hold me accountable to sharing my story with someone else, just to encourage somebody else and to let them know that they can make it too.
And that's exactly why I wanted you to do this episode. I do recognize that it is painful to kind of go back to, but in sharing your story, trust me, you're uplifting somebody that is listening to, and somebody that says, dag, well, if she did it and she made it through,
yes,
and she now has this positive outcome, then I can do it too.
Yes.
You got a D-Stacks beat?
Now it is time for the quote of the episode. And I usually like to leave my guests to come up with a quote that like pretty much embodies their lives, or, you know, something that they live by that they could pass on to other people.
Let me see, Latavia. I would say that each one teach one, each one help one, each one encourage one, and realize that I am my brother's keeper.
I think that is so great. I don't have anything to follow that up with, Auntie. You just shut it all down. So on that note, everyone, thank you for coming on, Auntie.
Thank you so much for having me, Latavia. I'm so happy to be here.
Dearly.
Love you too. Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful you are in remission and still here with us today.
Yes, I am grateful too.
So thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for sharing and subscribing. If you have any questions for my aunt, my mom, myself, or any of the other guests you have heard so far, you can send an email to queensontheroad.podcast@gmail.com. Again, my email is queensontheroad.podcast@gmail.com. I also have a Patreon account that you guys can donate to. There's 4 tiers up there. So please pick one. I will drop the link in my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook page, everywhere you can find me if you would like to support the show. Again, thank you, Auntie. Again, thank you to my listeners.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Please continue to run it up. Please continue to support the show. Please continue to subscribe and share. And we are rolling out. See you guys next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.